Three. All right, we're good.
Hello, everybody. This is our senior seminar presentation. The title is Video Games Beneficial or Detrimental. My name is Irene Hippolito.
My name is Arietta Lauti.
My name is Jenny Hernandez.
And my name is Stephanie Machuca.
So our topic is video games. Today, millions of children, teens, and adults play video games across the United States. It's become more and more popular throughout the years. Something that has greatly affected the rates of people who play video games is actually the COVID-19 pandemic, because more people are staying home. Therefore, some people just need to find a hobby to get into. And also children spend more time at home. So throughout the pandemic, rates have gone up and more children are playing video games every day. Also with advancing technologies, it's easy for children and teens to have access to more consoles, more gaming systems, more games. Now there's also different ways that they can play with their friends, and they can also connect with them and talk to them while they're playing video games. There's a video game rating system that is put in place in order to help parents decide if some games are appropriate for their children or not. So that's one help that parents have. According to ESA's 2021 annual report, they found that 67% of American adults, which are 18 and over, play video games, and 76% of American children under the age of 18 also play video games. So what does this mean for us as parents and educators? Well, there's two sides to this argument. Some people argue that video games can have a positive effect, while others argue that they can have a negative effect. So for the positive side, the questions that we should be asking are video games beneficial to our children? And for the negative side, one of the questions that we can ask ourselves is, are video games posing a threat to our children? So that is what we will be talking about today in our presentation.
So the stigma behind video games. So there's a controversy between if video games are good for a child or others believe that they are bad for a child. The controversy is that people believe video games are beneficial for a child while others don't. There are many positive factors that video games promote, but two of them are exercise and education. Some games that promote exercise are like the Wii Sports or Just Dance, and some examples the way video games help education is video games can teach algebra, can teach a child to get photography skills. On the other hand, some concerns that parents have about video games is what these can cause to a child. Playing violent video games can affect the child's behavior, such as becoming more aggressive. Violent video games can promote aggression that can lead a child to become a bully, have negative thoughts, or have no empathy. Also, another negative factor that video games have is how a child can lack in school performances just because their full focus will be on video games instead of trying to do homework or do their assignments or do the next day, etc. Oh no.
So some of the pros of video games, some of the things that people believe could benefit children when they play video games is being able to work as a team, and also it helps with their social skills. What we found in our studies is that video games actually have been proven to benefit children's cognitive abilities. So it depends on the type of video games the children are playing. Some video games can also help them with their mental ability, with problem solving. One of the benefits that video games have on children is that they increase their selective attention skills, so they're able to concentrate more. on a specific task or even multiple tasks. Children who play video games were also able to switch between tasks more than those who do not play video games. Another positive effect video games have on children is that video games players tend to do better in terms of their spelling and reading skills. The children were able to improve their verbal skills as well. And these are some of the benefits that video games have on children.
So, with society diving into a more technological advanced era, it's safe to say that there are common conceptions pertaining to the use of video games, as we just went over. But many parents believe that high usage of video games could lead to a decline in children's academic success, which is just one of the cons of video games. Many people believe that video games do indeed have a negative impact. Many negative remarks about video games pertain to the effect that video games have on children and their behavior. People believe that video games open the gates of violence for children, which evidently leads to children displaying violent language as well as violent acts. Many people also believe that video games can be an addictive matter, especially for children, which can negatively influence the social and mental health of children. Studies have found that pertaining to academic success of children and the use of video games, it is found that there is indeed a link between video game usage and academic success. According to the research, when measuring the academic outcomes of students and their usage of video games, it was concluded that the higher the usage was, the lower the academic outcomes. This may be due to children spending more time on video games and less time doing schoolwork. Pertaining to the increase of aggressiveness in children and their social and mental health, researchers have found that the heightened use of violent video games certainly leads to children displaying more aggressive behaviors. Researchers have also found that the use of violent video games in children's surrounding social environment can also lead to the increase of aggressive behavior in children. This means that a child doesn't necessarily have to partake in violent video games to display an increase in aggressive behaviors. It all depends on the child's surroundings. So if the child's surrounding friends partake in violent video games, then that may have a more impacted effect on the increased aggressive behavior within that child. Researchers have also found that the high amounts of video game usage could possibly lead to depression and addiction. Studies have found that children who have high levels of video game usage also have a hard time expressing their emotions. When children's empathy levels were measured through a questionnaire, studies found that children who spent more time playing video games scored low in terms of the average empathy scores. Next slide. What we have yet to find out. Video games have both negative and positive impacts. Therefore, it is simply up to parents, educators, etc., to decide how to use this information for their own children. Research proves that playing video games could affect children in a negative way, while other research proves that video games could actually benefit children. Children can learn new skills such as cognitive skills, behavioral skills, social skills, in terms of video games, but research also shows that constant increase in aggression stems from playing video games, and the heightened aggressive behavior can lead to defaults in social, physical, mental, psychological well-being of children. Due to the increase in use of internet access and also access to many video games today, children have the ability to partake in any form of video games that they please. What does this mean for parents and educators? Well, this means that we each have our own decisions to make. Are we going to allow our own children to play every kind of video game? Are we going to monitor the time they spend behind the screen? Just like with many other issues, there is no black and white side to this. We still have unanswered questions that could potentially lead to more future research. Ending slide. So this concludes our video game presentation. We hope you guys enjoy it and thank you for watching.